have developed very strong outreach efforts through the embassies overseas and strong collaboration mechanisms with China and other countries friendly to Kenya. I am delighted that this job fair has such strong support from the Embassy of China and dozens of Chinese companies. We are also laying emphasis on recognition of prior learning under the new policy, the RPL program. Under this program, highly qualified Kenyans who have no formal certificates will be assessed and recognized and issued with certificates by government accredited institutions to arm them in their search for jobs. The government has also focused on vocational and technical education as a core strategic agenda. Through this approach, we are ensuring that our youth are not just employable, but thrive in an increasingly competitive global market. The success stories achieved so far in this space are living proof of what is possible when talent meets opportunity. There's a lot of talent. What perhaps we should work harder to create more are opportunities for that talent to thrive. So far, over 6,000 skilled workers have been certified under the recognition of prior learning framework. 6,170 coxswains have been trained. 282 ICT hubs have been operationalized, establishing a platform for digital jobs such as content creation, software development, and we are also promoting industrial-based attachment and secure training for farmhands and farm managers and coxswains, and build strong constituency of certified masons, plumbers, carpenters through our affordable housing and market construction program that the government is implementing at the moment. Recently, the Cabinet of Kenya approved the dual training policy, which marked a historic milestone in the TVET sector. This policy is designed to solve the historical skills mismatch, integrating theoretical instruction in TVETs, and even going forward in the universities with practical hands-on training in industries. This approach ensures that students acquire both theoretical knowledge and relevant work experience, making them job-ready upon graduation. Through our affordable housing program and market construction program, we are providing opportunities to actualize the concept of dual training policy. And therefore, going forward, there's no reason why a student in TVET or university pursuing structural engineering, civil engineering related courses, electrical engineering related courses, there's no reason why such a student should graduate without first having a work experience, practical work experience as part of that training before they graduate. That will ensure they are ready for the job market on graduation day and fit for purpose. And therefore, we want to expand these partnerships into other areas so that the government, through the programs we are running in infrastructure, in ICT hubs, and the other programs we are running, including the construction of county aggregation and industrial parks, becomes a hub of public sector preparing students and making them ready for market before graduation, even as we partner with private entities like Huawei and other entities. I see the China Roads and Bridges Corporation here and other Chinese companies who have been very supportive to the young people of Kenya by providing them jobs and income opportunities. As well as investing in our universities and TVETs, we have set up also the Open University of Kenya to make quality education opportunities available to anyone with an internet connection. The quality of Kenyan talent is one of the key reasons why Kenya is seen as a gateway to Africa, a regional hub, and a leader in industries like fintech. I believe it is also the reason why there are so many companies from China who are active in Kenya and who are creating so many jobs here, for which I want to thank the Kenya-China Economic and Trade Association and their members. I have no doubt, as President William Ruto has stated before, that we shall stand vindicated by our job creation and income opportunity interventions going forward. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, and perhaps to our private sector partners, we urge you to intensify your engagement in job creation, especially in emerging sectors like technology, agribusiness, and the creative economy, like Huawei has done. Together, let us build an ecosystem that nurtures dreams and delivers results. Following President Ruto's visit to China recently, Kenya and China have further strengthened ties, and we are attracting more investments into Kenya. This will create more jobs, support more local businesses, and further position Kenya for future growth. Today's job fair, with over 1,500 jobs available, is evidence of the success of the government's strategy and support for international investment. I urge other development partners to borrow from this approach and design tangible, sustainable approaches to our job creation and income opportunity objectives. Again, Huawei has led the way, and we encourage as many more companies from as many countries as possible to borrow a leaf from what Huawei has done. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, now that every speaker here has been very brief, I don't want to be the odd one out and speak forever. Otherwise, I will spoil the occasion. But allow me, just in 1 minute, to share what I believe is the future in this space of job creation and empowerment of young people to realize their present and future dreams. I see going forward 3 variables that will inform the progress of the world into the next century. These 3 variables are, number 1, technology. The next century is going to be driven by technology. What this means, therefore, is that if we have to empower young people to realize their present and future dreams, technology must be at the heart of finding solutions to job creation and creation of opportunities. And therefore, IT companies like Huawei, you hold the future for young people, not just in Kenya, but around the globe. Because technology, especially IT, is going to be at the center of solving the problems of the world, including the problems around jobs and income opportunity creation. Other than the technology factor, the second variable that will define the future of the world in the next century is the youth themselves, the people. The people and how they use technology is going to be an increasingly important variable of shaping the progress of the world into the next century. And as we look at the people as a variable, we are looking at different population dynamics around the world. And Africa remains at the center of the future of the world, because Africa today is the youngest continent. The average age of the population in Africa is 19 years. Other parts of the world are not as fortunate, because the average ages in Europe, in Asia, and other places is much higher. And since the people are going to be an important variable in defining the future success of the world in the next century, and not just the people, but young people, especially young people, then Africa then lies in the square of influencing the future of the world. The last variable is partnerships. Partnerships are going to become increasingly important going forward. We are coming from a history of a dichotomy between the public and private sector. Something is either public or private sector. There are things that the public sector must concentrate on. There are things that the private sector should concentrate on. That division is increasingly getting blurred for various reasons. And I dare say that this blurring of the public-private sector divide is irreversible. It's not going to change anytime soon. And governments, including the government of Kenya, have come to accept the reality that going forward, as we solve our national problems, we are not adequate as public sector to give all the solutions that the country needs. We need the private sector. We have tested and received positive feedback that the closer ties between the public sector and the private sector can drive Kenya's progress faster. And we can reach to our desired destination earlier, faster, and with less difficulties if we leverage on working with private sector in partnerships. Some of the, in this city already, you know, one of the fairly good projects that have improved the face of the city is the expressway just outside here. It would not have been possible if there was no public-private partnerships, because it is private resources used to provide a public good, which ordinarily, in the classical sense, should have been the work of government, to look for money to build an expressway. Through the same public-private sector, public-private partnerships, we are about in 2 weeks' time to launch the construction of a dual carriageway to the western part of Kenya, which could not again have been possible if we kept our traditional divisions between public and private sector. And we are thinking ahead and seeing, and trying to see what else is it that we can do to improve that public-private sector partnership to provide jobs like we are doing here today to as many young people as possible, to provide solutions for energy, to provide solutions for public infrastructure like roads, water also. The future of sustainable water infrastructure and water amenities being available, we have to bring in the private sector. So the broad for cooperation is beyond ICT and IT. It cuts across. And there are as many sectors as possible. When we are therefore reflecting on how do we as public sector enable private sector to help us converge our interests and speed up the development of Kenya and the development of the world. And therefore going forward, we will be engaging in this space. And I think the same way governments raise bonds, we could also allow private sector to place bonds and raise funds to provide public amenities. Instead of the private sector struggling with their own resources, they can use the protection of the public sector, governments, to be able to raise private bonds, to raise money, if that money is going to be used to provide a public infrastructure. So that's the way I see it. And therefore, I thought I should speak about that in an occasion like this one, because it is no longer feasible that we do things the way we've always done them. If we have to create enough jobs for our young people, if we have to offer national solutions around infrastructure, energy, and water, and so forth, and health, we must think outside the box. And going into the future, technology, people, especially the youth, and partnerships will drive us into the desired world that we want to see in the next century. God bless you. Thank you for listening.